Foods to avoid during pregnancy. Some foods have a high risk of harboring illness-causing bacteria like Listeria, Salmonella or E. coli. At the same time, your immune system has a harder time fighting off germs during pregnancy. Here are the foods and drinks worth taking off the menu until your baby is born. 1. Alcohol. There is no safe time for alcohol use during pregnancy. Alcohol can cause problems for the baby throughout pregnancy, including before a woman knows she is pregnant. Alcohol use in the first 3 months of pregnancy can cause the baby to have abnormal facial features. Growth and central nervous system problems, example, low birth weight and behavioral problems can occur from alcohol uses anytime during pregnancy. The baby's brain is developing throughout pregnancy and can be affected by exposure to alcohol at any time. It is never too late to stop alcohol use during pregnancy. Stopping alcohol use will improve the baby's health and well-being. 2. Too much caffeine. Consuming large amounts of caffeine during pregnancy may increase the risk of miscarriage or low birth weight, so it's best to limit your intake of caffeine. Caffeine is a chemical found in many foods and drinks, including coffee, tea and cola. It affects the nervous system and can cause irritability, nervousness and sleeplessness. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, consuming up to 200 milligrams a day is safe for your baby. Energy drinks are not recommended during pregnancy as they may contain high levels of caffeine, and other ingredients not recommended for pregnant women. Some cold and flu remedies also contain caffeine. Talk to your midwife, doctor or pharmacist before taking these remedies. 3. Avoid seafood high in mercury. Seafood can be a great source of protein, and the omega-3 fatty acids in many fish can promote your baby's brain and eye development. However, some fish and shellfish contain potentially dangerous levels of mercury. Too much mercury could harm your baby's developing nervous system. The bigger and older the fish, the more mercury it's likely to contain. During pregnancy, the Food and Drug Administration (FDA) encourages you to avoid
big-eye tuna, king mackerel, marlin, orange roughy, swordfish shark, tilefish.
4. Avoid raw, undercooked or contaminated seafood. To avoid harmful bacteria or viruses in seafood, avoid raw fish and shellfish. Examples of raw or undercooked foods to avoid include sushi, sashimi, ceviche and raw oysters, scallops or clams. Avoid refrigerated, uncooked seafood. Examples include seafood labeled Nova style, lox, kippered, smoked or jerky. It's okay to eat smoked seafood if it's an ingredient in a casserole or other cooked dish. Canned and shelf-stable versions also are safe. Understand local fish advisories. If you eat fish from local waters, pay attention to local fish advisories, especially if water pollution is a concern. If you are uncertain about the safety of fish you have already eaten, don't eat any other fish that week. Cook seafood properly. Cook fish to an internal temperature of 145 F 63 C. Fish is done when it separates into flakes and appears opaque throughout. Cook shrimp, lobster and scallops until they're milky white. Cook clams, mussels and oysters until their shells open. Discard any that don't open. 5. Avoid undercooked meat, poultry and eggs. During pregnancy, you're at increased risk of bacterial food poisoning. Your reaction might be more severe than if you weren't pregnant. Rarely, food poisoning affects the baby, too. To prevent foodborne illness, fully cook all meats and poultry before eating. Use a meat thermometer to make sure. Cook hot dogs and luncheon meats until they're steaming hot, or avoid them completely. They can be sources of a rare but potentially serious foodborne illness known as a Listeria infection. Avoid refrigerated pates and meat spreads. Canned and shelf-stable versions, however, are okay. Cook eggs until the egg yolks and whites are firm. Raw eggs can be contaminated with harmful bacteria. Avoid foods made with raw or partially cooked eggs, such as eggnog, raw batter, and freshly made or homemade hollandaise sauce, and Caesar salad dressing. 6. Avoid unpasteurized foods. Many low-fat dairy products, such as skim milk, mozzarella cheese and cottage cheese, can be a healthy part of your diet. Anything containing unpasteurized milk, however, is a no-no. These products could lead to foodborne illness. 7. Avoid soft cheeses, such as brie, feta and blue cheese, unless they are clearly labeled as being pasteurized or made with pasteurized milk. Also, avoid drinking unpasteurized juice. 8. Avoid unwashed fruits and vegetables. It's always worth giving produce a quick rinse before eating, but it's especially important to clean raw fruits and veggies these days. Harmful bacteria like Listeria, Salmonella or E. coli can lurk on the outsides of produce, and the microbes can easily spread to the inside flesh when a fruit or vegetable is cut, juiced or peeled. No need to break out a special produce cleaning spray, however. A thorough rinse under running water before eating or prepping will get the job done, and if you spot any lingering dirt, scrape it away with a produce brush. Finally, cut away any bits of produce that seem bruised or damaged, since these areas are more likely to harbor bacteria. 9. Avoid herbal tea. There's little data on the effects of specific herbs on developing babies. As a result, avoid drinking herbal tea unless your healthcare provider says it's okay, even the types of herbal tea marketed specifically for pregnancy to pregnant women. Never make your own herbal tea from plants you've collected while you're pregnant. Large amounts of some herbs may possibly start contractions and increase your risk of preterm labor, or they may affect your baby. Also, teas where there is insufficient information about safety. 10. Limit organ meat. Excess vitamin A and iron. Consuming too much vitamin A can cause birth defects. As organ meat contains high amounts of vitamin A, people who are pregnant should avoid it. Organ meat is also loaded with iron, which can be a problem for those with an iron overload disorder. To prevent consuming too much vitamin A, limit your intake of organ meat to a few ounces once a week. 11. Eating ultra-processed foods. These are foods that have undergone significant industrial processing and modification and thus contain only a small amount of whole foods. Thus, ultra-processed foods tend to contain food additives such as preservatives, emulsifiers, stabilizers, and sweeteners that are typically not used in domestic cooking. These foods are generally ready to consume or require little preparation and have a long shelf life. Due to the industrial manufacturing processes used for making these types of foods, ultra-processed foods are generally highly palatable, inexpensive, and high in calories, sugar, salt, and saturated fat. Some examples of ultra-processed foods include mass-produced bread and bakery items, ready-to-eat meals, packaged sweets, desserts, and snacks. Several studies have consistently shown that the consumption of ultra-processed foods is associated with overweight and obesity in adults and children. Moreover, studies have shown that a mother's diet during pregnancy and even during childhood and adolescence, i.e. during the child-rearing period, can influence the risk of obesity in the offspring. These findings suggest that women of reproductive age should limit the intake of ultra-processed food to reduce the risk of overweight and obesity in their children.
If you know more of this topic, please drop your comment below. Subscribe, share and like.